Hi, my name is Length-Bergen. I'm a financial advisor with Bergen Financial Group, and I've been in the industry over 30 years. And what we're going to do today in this 45-minute webinar is really tie everything together. If you're looking to retire, it's not about how much money I have in stocks and bonds or how much it costs to do a trust. It's really about the whole thing. So how do I have a tax plan? How do I put together an income plan, an investment plan, an estate or legacy plan, and of course, a health plan? They all have to work together. For example, if I take money from Social Security or I take money out of an IRA, we have to remember that the money I take out is not the same. So if I take $1 from an IRA or $1 out of Social Security, which dollar buys more stuff? Well, the dollar from Social Security is never 100% taxable. But the dollar from my IRA is always 100% taxable. See, some people don't pay any tax on their Social Security. So if I can maybe delay Social Security a number of years to get more income from Social Security and pay less tax, and maybe take money out of my IRA in early retirement years, I might get the best of both worlds there. Because every year I delay Social Security, it goes up by 8% a year. And remember, it's a bigger amount that's less taxable. So that's one example of how maybe my income plan and my tax plan have to work together for the best scenario in retirement. So we really believe in the 5 pillars. That's the legacy plan, the income plan, the tax plan, the medical plan, and of course, the investment plan. So let's start talking about the income. We brushed on it briefly with Social Security and IRA. An income plan is so very important. We want to make sure that the plan provides us with income for life that we can't outlive. We want to make sure we don't lose our money in the stock market. We want to make sure we're taking the right amount out of an IRA at the right time. We want to make sure we turn on Social Security at the right time. So this is all part of a well thought out written income plan. If you don't have an income plan written out, follow us later, get in touch with us, and we can put one together for you. So the income plan is something we're going to work on every single year to make sure our money lasts our lifetime. So the next plan that we talk about is our investment plan or our risk plan. Whenever we're investing money in retirement, it's got to be different than if we are investing money while we're working. See, while we're working, we've got time. We've got time for the market to go up and down, the stock market to go down. It's okay. We're buying in our 401k. We're purchasing. We're investing in our 401k every month and every 2 weeks. And if the market goes down, we're getting better prices. But if we're retired and we hit a 30, 40, or 50% stock market crash, we better not have all our money in the stock market. So there's certain risks that we can plan for and make sure we don't get hurt by that. The number one risk, of course, is a recession or the stock market volatility or a crash. We want to make sure that we don't get hurt by that. Another risk is interest rate risk. Well, if interest rates go up, we know that bond values go down. We know that stock values go down. So interest rate risk is a big risk that we want to make sure we overcome, or we set aside things that will solve that risk. Let's get back to the stock market risk. The stock market volatility is a good thing when I'm working because I'm dollar cost averaging into the market. I'm buying all the time. Market goes down, I'm still buying. I just need time for it to come back up. But when I'm retired, I don't have that time. I've got to buy back the time. And here's an example. There's a risk called sequence of return risk. That means if I'm retired and taking money out of my portfolio and the market goes down or I'm entering into a bad market time period, I'm selling at a loss and I don't have that money coming back because I've sold it. I'm living on it. You know, a great example you're going to see in the graphic is Steve and Bill. Steve and Bill both retired at the same amount of money, but retired in different years. One retired in 1990, and 10 years later, has a lot of money left over. The other one, Bill, retired in year 2000, and guess what? 10 years later, he's almost out of money because he retired at the start when markets went down, and he just didn't have the time to recover. So how do we protect against sequence of return? How do we protect against interest rate risk? Well, there's a very basic strategy, and I call it green and red money. If I can manage risk through retirement with simple terms like green and red, if I have the right amount of money in green, I'll be okay. If I have the right amount of money in red, I'll make lots of returns. So green money is safe money. Money like a CD at 4 or 5%, or a bond, an individual bond that I might hold till maturity. It could be a fixed annuity that pays a fixed rate of 4 or 5%, or even 6%. It could be an index annuity where I'm buying stock market indexes that are insured so that if the market crashes, I don't lose any money. Those accounts only go forward, only go up, never down. Red money is my ETF program, my stocks, my mutual funds, whatever you're doing in the stock market. So how do we decide how much should be in green and how much should be in red? Well, there's a great question that you should ask yourself when working out this. What is the maximum loss that you would accept in your portfolio? So if you have $1 million and it's all in the stock market, well, very likely the market could go down. Very likely it could go down 10, 20, 30, 40, even 50%. So in 1990, we had 3 years where the market went down a net total of 50%. Then it took 7 years to get back to even, 2007, 2008, and then the market crashed again. And then it took another 7 years from 2008 to get to 2014 where we're back to even. That's devastating for someone who has all their money in the stock market and retired. So maybe you take the prudent investor rule. The prudent investor rule says if you're 60 years old, you should have 60% in green money and 40% in red money. That's a general rule of thumb. Your age is the number you should have in green, and the rest should be in red. That eliminates bonds from a portfolio because, again, if interest rates go up, bonds will go down. You should have money in green that are not affected by interest rates, not affected by negative stock market, but have enough in green that should last in retirement for 10, 12, even 15 years. What does that allow red to do? It allows red money to double 2 times, even more, over the next 10, 12, 15 years, so you don't even have to touch that money. What you've done is you've bought time back. You're retired, but your time horizon could be 15 years on that red money. That's the magic of red and green. So the question is, how much are you willing to lose? That dictates how much you should have in green and how much in red. The next question is, would you feel comfortable if you could only historically ever lose 10 or 20% of your total portfolio? That's what green allows you to do. So that's how to avoid those kind of risks. Now, we have to have money in red. We can't put it all in CDs. We can't put it all in accounts that are only making 5, 6, 7, 8%. We have to have some in red because we have to fight inflation. So if we have indexes that are insured in green and we have stock market investments in red, we should beat inflation over time. The other thing that we've got to beat, we're living longer, longevity. You know, the average 65-year-old couple, one of them is going to live to 90 statistically. So our money must last our lifetime. And so that's another reason to have that 40% in red so that we can have money that lasts our lifetime by using green and red money. So when you're deciding what to have in green money, I like to have things that have no fees at all and a really good upside. And in red money, I like to have things that, again, lower fees, but I want to measure the red money investment options. And the way we measure it is by talking about drawdown. You know, we can have stocks and bonds, and stocks are ownership, bonds are loanership, both have risk. But the way I like to measure investments is not by its standard deviation and its beta and all those fancy words. I just want to know how much did it go down historically, because that's going to repeat itself. So if I buy an investment and I can measure its drawdown, I know that probably in the future, it's going to have the same thing happen again. So if an investment historically went down 40% and I buy it, I just want to mentally know that it could go down 40% again. And that's, again, so important to have money in green, so it allows me to buy investments that have drawdown. So any investments you currently have, I would want to get a report on what the historical drawdown was. How much did it go down historically before it came back up? Okay, that's a way to measure investments, make it very simple. Because we have to measure the losses because losses are not the easiest to overcome. I mentioned earlier in 2000 when the market went down, it took 7 years to get back. In 2008, it took 7 years to get back. So this graph shows that if I lose 50%, I have to make 100% just to break even. If I lose 30%, I have to make 40% plus just to break even. So the key is don't lose, don't lose, don't lose, maybe as much by having the right portfolio. Some people are talking about annuities. Annuities could be in the green pot, but there's different kinds of annuities. I'd be careful with annuities. The word annuity simply means money held at a life insurance company. Doesn't mean it's good or bad, but there are ways to decide which annuities are good, which are bad, and which are really ugly. There's 3 kinds of annuities basically that allow your money to grow. One is a fixed annuity. Fixed annuity, fixed interest rate for a fixed period of time. Very simple to understand. Maybe you'll get right now 4% fixed for 2 years or 3 years, or maybe a 5% fixed rate for 3 years or 5 years. So a fixed rate for a fixed time period. Very easy to understand. Now, right now, those kind of interest rates are not beating inflation. They're good, but they're not beating inflation. So I'm not going to put a whole lot of money in the fixed. But of course, we have clients that want that high fixed rate, and they lock it in. Now, a variable annuity is simply that. It varies in value because it's linked to a stock market investment. Market goes up, it goes up. Market goes down, it goes down. It varies in value. The negative to a variable annuity is I have market risk and there's fees. Most variable annuities average about 3.5% in fees. I don't know anyone that wants to pay 3.5% in fees on their investments. Most people that have bought a variable annuity don't know how much fees are in a variable annuity. So you've got high fees and high risk. So I would not put my money in a variable annuity. Now, an index annuity is simply where you're buying stock market indexes that are insured by the life insurance company so that if the stock market goes down, you don't lose any money that year. But if the stock market goes up, you get a percentage of that up. Some companies will give you a cap rate of maybe 7 or 8 or 9% on the upside. That's pretty good. Others will give you a participation rate or a percentage of the up. If I could get half of the ups of the S&P 500 and none of the downs ever, never lose money, but in years make half, historically, that's done very, very well. So I'm looking for index annuities that give me a good upside potential, maybe no cap at all, but also no fees. I would say that 90% of our clients have no fees or pay no fees on their index annuity that's with an insurance company. So going back to green money, if I pay no fees on my green money and have really good upside potential, and I have fees on my red money because I want money managers to manage that, I might be paying 40% less than our competitors in fees because of the way we put those two, green and red, together. It's a very good way to eliminate sequence of returns, eliminate interest rate risk, and reduce stock market risk while reducing fees. So now the legacy pillar is all about leaving a legacy behind for our beneficiaries, our children, our charities. And so the question is, how do we do that? Well, I believe everyone listening and watching this webinar today needs to have a will. There are 2 kinds of wills. One is a public will and one is a private will. The public will is just a regular will that when I pass away, my family, our children, 3 children, are going to have to take that will to court. They're going to have to prove it in probate court. Public will proven in court. Sometimes that's a little bit of a hassle. I know in our state of Arizona, it's backed up about 18 months, and children are going to have to hire a lawyer and go to court, and it's a long process. So, not a big fan of just a public will. I want to do a private will. See, the private will is a private document that's found inside of a revocable living trust. So the advantage of a trust, it's a private document. Beneficiaries can simply sell all the assets because they're the successor trustees and split the assets up amongst the beneficiaries. There's no lawyers, there's no judge, there's no probate court. It's a private issue. So I love a revocable living trust and a private will because it's so much easier than going to probate court. So if you don't like your children, put them through probate. If you like your children, maybe a trust is the way to go. Now, inside of a trust, you've got living wills, you've got medical power of attorney, durable power of attorney, all those documents that you need anyway. Now, the question is, do I put my assets in the trust? And so I think if you go to a lawyer or an attorney, they're going to tell you to put all your assets in the trust. Well, us as financial advisors, we're going to get a little more detailed on that. See, it's my belief that you shouldn't put everything in the trust. You should put everything in the trust that you need to eliminate probate on, but any money that's tax deferred, any money that grows tax deferred like an IRA, like a tax deferred annuity, like a Roth, a tax-free Roth, those accounts should not go in a trust in most cases. Because if I pass away with an IRA and it goes to the trust, a lot of times it's surrendered, cashed in, and taxed all at once. So if I pass away with $1 million IRA and it goes to my trust, my wife might lose 40% of it right there in federal income tax. I like my wife. I don't want her to lose any. So maybe she should be the primary beneficiary. She can then roll that IRA into her name, spousal rollover, and not pay any income tax. And there's no probate because it was a named beneficiary. And then my wife might have the contingent beneficiary, we would, our 3 children. And when we both pass away, the 3 children get a check directly from the IRA each, and then they can do inherited rollovers, inherited IRA rollovers, and pay no income tax. And no probate because of named beneficiary designations. So some of the money should be in the trust, some of the assets, and then some of the assets, like an IRA, should have named beneficiaries. See, named beneficiaries also eliminate probate. Other assets that can have a named beneficiary, some states allow real estate. It's called a beneficiary deed. In Arizona, they allow a beneficiary deed at Maricopa County Recorder. They'll record a deed for, I think it's under $50, and that's one way to eliminate probate. You can also put your bank accounts payable on death, POD, to beneficiaries. That eliminates probate. You can put a beneficiary on any other investment account, transfer on death, TOD, beneficiary on IRAs, Roth, life insurance. So named beneficiaries also eliminates probate, just like a trust does. I would say that most of our clients should have both. Some will have just named beneficiaries, but most will have both a trust written by a lawyer and some beneficiaries on other assets like an IRA. So that takes us now to talk about the IRA concept. And what do we do with an IRA? Well, IRAs, remember, are tax deferred until we touch the money. And we're talking about legacy planning. And what if you want to give money to a charity, your church or a charitable organization? Well, if I give money in my will or in my trust, my children might have to pay the tax. So if I give money directly from my IRA to charity upon my passing, maybe some of the IRA has a beneficiary that goes to charity. Guess what? Charities don't pay income tax, and neither will my children pay tax on that money. So if you're going to give money to charities in your will, don't do it in the will, do it right on your IRA as part of the beneficiary designation. So you might have 30% of an IRA account go right directly to charity, no tax to anyone, and the rest go to your children as an example. Give your children the tax-free assets, the stocks, the bonds, the real estate, the money in the bank accounts, the Roth, the life insurance, and give taxable assets to your church or charity. Now, an IRA grows tax deferred until you need the money or spend the money. But if you don't touch it till age 73, you're forced to take out around 4% every year. It's called a required minimum distribution. That minimum distribution obviously is taxable. At age 70 and a half, used to be the RMD rule, you could give your RMD directly to charity each year and you wouldn't pay any tax on it. So you can still do that at age 70 and a half or 71 or 72 or 73. But maybe if you're going to give money to charity, your church maybe every Sunday or every week or every month, stop doing that out of your checking account because that's not tax deductible for most people. Give money directly from the IRA, direct it directly to the charity. You won't pay any income tax on that money, and neither will the charity. So stop giving money to charity directly. If you're over age 71, give it to them right from your IRA. So now, these IRAs, what do we do with these IRAs? When's the best time to take money out of an IRA, a 401k? It's not at age 73. That's the government's plan. The government's plan is to delay the RMD till age 73, till it's a bigger number. And then when you have to take money out, it's going to affect your tax on Social Security. It's going to affect whether you hit the IRMA threshold and have to pay tax on your, or fees on your Medicare. The best time to take money out of an IRA is not at age 73. It's when you are in a lower tax bracket. Most people are in a lower tax bracket when they retire. So if you retired at 64 years old, that's the best time to take money out of your IRA. How much should you take out of the IRA? That's between you and your financial advisor. We have clients that we visit with every year, and the question is, how much are we going to take out this year? What's the standard deduction this year? What's the ramification on Social Security? Can I take more money out of the IRA and maybe convert to Roth IRA? So a Roth IRA, think about this. Most people have a big bucket of money in their IRA and 401k. And then they've got a little money in a cup called an investment account. And then they have a shot glass of money in a Roth IRA. Well, the Roth IRA is the best thing that you can have because it's never taxable. It grows tax-free for my life, goes to my wife, and tax-free for her life. Then it goes to our children for another 10 years of tax freedom. What if you could take all that money in that big bucket, that big IRA that's taxable, tax deferred, and what if you could put it in an IRA, a Roth IRA? So you can convert IRA to Roth IRA at any time, at any income level, as long as you pay the tax. When is the best time to pay the tax? When you're in a lower tax bracket. So it's either before the government raises taxes or it's when you retire. A few examples of that. Let's say that I took Social Security. I'm going to take Social Security. I'm going to retire. You're going to retire. Let's say that you're 65 years old and you're planning on taking Social Security. Please don't do that without a Social Security plan and a tax plan. Because we've seen people take $40,000 in Social Security and they've taken $40,000 out of their IRA. It's $80,000. A lot of people can live on that. Guess what? They should be in the 12% tax bracket. But the IRA withdrawal caused their Social Security to be taxable. Not all of it, but a lot of it. That actually puts them in a 22% tax bracket on a lot of the IRA they took out. Remember, $80,000 of income, some of the money's paying 22% tax. Now, if they delay Social Security and don't take it, but take $80,000 out of an IRA, they're only going to be in the 12% bracket. Same income, but 12% bracket instead of 22. So when you retire, maybe you take the $80,000 from the IRA and delay Social Security for later and be in that 12% bracket. But if you're 65 years old and married, you can take another $40,000 out of your IRA and still be in the 12% bracket. And you could take that $40,000 and convert to a Roth. So now that $40,000 is in a Roth in a tax-free zone forever. And do that every year, age 65, 66, 67, 68, 69, and 70. And then take your Social Security. And then at that point in time, your Social Security went from $40,000 a year to more than $50,000. So then you're getting a $50,000 income from Social Security. Then if you only take $20,000 out of your IRA, you'll pay no tax at all. And then if you need another $10,000 of income, take it out of the Roth and pay no tax. So what we did is we took a couple that was going to pay 22% tax on IRA. We changed it to 12% until they reach age 70. And then at 70, we went to a zero tax bracket for the rest of their life. That's tax planning at its finest. That's an amazing strategy. So don't retire, don't take Social Security, don't take money out of your IRA until you get a Social Security plan, an income plan, and a tax plan. And you do all those things to make it perfect. So while we're talking about tax planning, there's another way, another few strategies to get to zero taxes. One is using capital gains. Maybe you've had a non-qualified account, a stock account, it's been growing, mutual funds, ETFs, or whatever, and it's made a lot of gains, but you haven't crystallized those gains. Do you know that if you're 65 years old, married, and retired, you can have $120,000 of income? If it's all long-term capital gains, you pay no income tax at all, zero. So if you're ready to retire, we should take that into account. Do you have a lot of unrealized gains in stocks or real estate that we need to liquidate and sell before we take Social Security, before we take money out of an IRA, so that we pay no income tax? So in good stock market years, you might retire just solely on capital gains and pay no income tax at all. You know that you could have $100,000 of capital gains income and then also take $20,000 out of an IRA and only pay about $500 in federal income tax? That's a great way to take some money out of the IRA and pay almost no tax. And then if you had maybe $80,000 of long-term gains and then you had $40,000 of Social Security, you pay no tax at all. So we have to have a tax plan that takes into account everything, and we have to look at it holistically. Another way to get tax-free income is if you're years ago before retirement, you put money in cash value life insurance. You know you can take money out of life insurance. If you do it right, it's income tax-free. It's kind of like a super Roth in some cases. So maybe your children or your grandchildren, this is an idea for them. But if you're 65 years old and 60 years old and you're going to retire, you could use life insurance in a different way. You can take money that you're probably never going to spend and dump it in a life insurance policy and earn index returns that the government never knows about. I mean, they do know, but it's not taxable. So you can have money grow inside of a life insurance policy, grow tax deferred forever, pass away, and all those gains are tax-free to your beneficiaries because it's life insurance. The other place that life insurance fits into people that are retired is people that are concerned about long-term care. Am I going to have enough money to live the rest of my life? Am I going to have enough money to pay for care? Well, long-term care insurance is very expensive. But if I could use the death benefit from my life insurance policy while I'm alive to pay for care, that might solve that problem. And a lot of life insurance companies allow an advance of the death benefit to pay for care. That's a great way to cover off long-term care insurance. It's a great way to earn tax deferred, maybe even tax-free earnings on your money. Last section of our webinar today is on Social Security. We have touched on it earlier. We've touched on timing. Every year I delay Social Security, I get 8% more. Maybe taking it early or taking it late. The taxes on Social Security. But we have to know and understand when our full retirement age is. So based on your age, we'll tell you when your full benefit is available. I was born in 1968, so I've got to wait till age 67 to get my full benefit. If you were born a lot earlier, maybe it's only age 66. Now, if you claim your benefits early, you simply get less. If you declare them late, you get more. So you can declare it early as 62, and you can delay as late as age 70. If you delay till 70, you're going to get about 32 to 40% more income for the rest of your life if you do the delay strategy. So 8% a year is what it grows by every year you delay. However, it's not 8%. It's 8% plus inflation. Cost of living allowance. That average has been about 3%. So I get 8% and an additional 3% every year I delay. Does your 401k or your IRA go up by 11% guaranteed every year? Probably not, and some years probably goes down. So maybe early in retirement, I'm going to take money out of my IRA to live and maybe delay Social Security. Not everyone should do that, but a lot of people should. The question is, do I claim early? Do I do it on time? And do I do it late? Now, married couples have a lot more questions to ask about this. So if I'm single, it's really just easy. It's on my income. It's am I healthy? Am I unhealthy? Am I going to live a long time? Or do I have health problems that maybe I should take it early? What's the tax ramification of taking it early or delaying? All those great questions. But married, a lot more questions. Do I take it early? Does my spouse take it early? Do I take it late? Does she take it early? Do we take it at the same time? All these questions. So remember, if you're married, you get your full benefit at age 67, and your spouse gets their full benefit at age 67. However, if your benefit is less than half of your spouse's, then you get half of your spouse's. You get the greater of yours or half of your spouse. So that's something to take into account. If I'm the spouse with the lesser income, the lesser Social Security, I get 50% of my spouse's benefit if I take it at my age 67, even if my spouse hasn't declared theirs yet, hasn't taken theirs yet. So maybe the higher income earner, the higher Social Security, delays till 70. The lesser one maybe takes it at age 67 to get the full 50% benefit. Because there is a survivor benefit. The survivor benefit is 100% of the larger number. So if my wife has a large number and she passes away, I get her full benefit. So if one spouse delays, they are delaying for, yes, their current income benefit for the rest of their life, but if and when they die, they've now provided a high benefit for their surviving spouse. So a lot of times we'll have the man, who usually dies first, lower life expectancy, delay, so that they leave behind a larger check for the spouse for the rest of their life. And we might have the woman, the wife, take it earlier or take it on time, depending on how much their benefit is. So these are the questions we need to ask of each married couple: is what's the best strategy for you? Now, there are divorce benefit. Divorce benefit is simply this: you get your Social Security or half of your ex's Social Security, period. Just as if you were married. Now, if you have multiple exes, you would take the one with the most benefit. Okay, so yeah, you can pick and choose on that. Okay, now we've already talked about taxes on Social Security, but let me just remind you: some people pay no tax on their Social Security. Some people only half of it's taxable, and others 85% taxable, but never 100%. And this is based on something called the provisional income rule. Provisional income is simply all the income you get plus half of your Social Security. That's your provisional income. That's why some people could have a $50,000 Social Security income and a $20,000 IRA income and pay no tax, because it's based on provisional income. So your financial advisor has to be able to understand provisional income. They have to understand Roth conversion. They have to understand tax on capital gains, tax on dividends, and how to put it all together in a package so that each year in retirement, we have the right strategy to pay the least amount of tax, lose the least amount if the stock market crashes, make the most amount of earnings when the market is up, and pay the least amount of fees. That's financial planning in today's world. If you're curious about your Social Security benefit, go online at ssa.gov/myaccount, print off your Social Security benefits. That's your earning record and your age 62, age 67, age 70 benefits. Get them over to us. We can look at that and we can start working on your Social Security plan. In addition to that, we offer a tax plan. We offer when is the best time to convert to Roth and do other tax planning. We also have an income plan that we put together to make sure that your money lasts your lifetime. And lastly, if you've heard of IRMA. IRMA is if you have too much income in retirement, Married couple is $200,000. You then now have to start paying Medicare. Well, I call it a Medicare tax. It's called a Medicare premium. If you hit IRMA threshold, there is a high likelihood that by the time you're 85 years old, all of your Social Security benefit will be eaten up by IRMA penalties and taxes. So you want to do an IRMA plan so that you make sure that you've done enough tax planning to never get to hit that IRMA threshold. Now, if you're 55 to 60 years old and you have $1 million in your IRA and you get Social Security, you will most likely hit IRMA and start losing your Social Security. Now, single, it's only $100,000 of income. So if I'm married and I pass away, we never hit IRMA, it's very likely that my spouse will hit IRMA because the threshold is so low. We've got to do IRMA tax planning so that we don't lose our Social Security. Thanks for watching. My name is Darcy Bergen. Contact our office if you'd like any of these free services. If you'd like my book or some retirement guides, we give these away. And of course, we do Zoom meetings. 15-minute phone calls is what we recommend from a webinar like this. So if you have some questions and you're not quite sure about coming into the office or doing a full appointment, do a 15-minute financial checkup phone call with one of our advisors and see if there's a way that we can help you save taxes, save fees, and make your money last a long time. Thanks for watching.